Welcome to
Split the Defense,
where Jordan Webster, Ted Evans, and Craig Pearce talk about the NHL and all things hockey.
Split the Defense
Can be found wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. It's also broadcasted on Amherst Island Radio, 101.3 FM, and online at CJAI.CA.
Welcome, Split the Defense Hockey Podcast. Webby here, alongside my co-host CP and producer Ted, who runs all production and engineering for our show, making everything look and sound on point. And he also creates all the music you hear during Split the Defense Hockey Podcast. Welcoming in listeners from the greater Kingston area as we broadcast here today from the Chumley's Kingston Tower of Power on Amherst Island Radio, 101.3 FM, CJAI, and CJAI.CA. Also, big welcome to the audience joining us on Twitch and YouTube here as we broadcast live Monday and Thursday nights at 9 p.m. Come find us online. Search for Split the Defense on most social apps or at STDP Hockey on X, formerly known as Twitter. Please follow, like, and subscribe. We're going to be starting off with some Avs facility news, some preseason chatter about the Avs. We're going to get into a slew of Leafs topics, and after that, we're going to talk about guys that are going to get into new roles, injuries, cuts, and who looks good. I went to the Franz home opener because Ted had COVID, and Andrei Vasilevsky did miss time at the start of the season and why that affects the Leafs. And then later on in the show, we're going to talk about our fantasy picks and how we're feeling after the draft. And spoiler, if I might trade McDavid. So let's get at it.
Yeah.
The first order of business is Josh Kroenke, who is the son of Colorado Avalanche and the NBA Denver Nuggets owner, Stanley Kroenke. He had something to say on the land around the Ball Arena that belongs to the Kroenkes. He says, in quote, "We're part of a master plan there to develop that out, and the first phase of that will include, most likely, an Avalanche and Nuggets practice facility. There's a lot that goes into that. We're working as fast as we can." So that's cool.
Okay.
Avs are going to get a new practice facility.
Sure. We like that.
Yeah.
So I was wondering,
Yeah.
are they going to do any renovations? When was the last time they did renovations at Ball Arena? So I started looking into that and searching around Ball Arena. And here's the reports that I found. Reports at the end of August say that they would look into a Ball Arena renovation. Ball Arena, then Pepsi Arena, opened October 1st, 1999.
I remember that.
So Steve Stagger of 9 News wrote in an article, Kroenke Sports and Entertainment sent a survey to fans seeking feedback about possible renovations inside the arena. Among the changes the owners polled fans about is the new premium seating tiers, including enhanced general seating and more expensive ledge seats in the first row of the upper bowl. The survey also discusses expanding club level into part of the 100 level of the arena and enhancing experiences inside of the Truly Club, in Club Level, and Club Lexus. The survey asks fans and season ticket holders a series of questions about their current feelings about the arena, including their satisfaction with the level of exclusivity. In quote, "Renovations to Ball Arena could include a variety of enhanced general seating opportunities located throughout the arena that could provide attendees access to unique spaces and seating options above and beyond the standard arena seat." Cool. It all sounds good, right? That sounds great.
Okay. Yeah.
Here's the kicker. This is how the article finished. Thanks, Stagger. Victor Matheson, a sports economist and professor at Holy Cross University, said exclusive experiences are a growing trend in the stadium business. In quote, "What we have seen all across sports over the last 30 years is arenas getting smaller, but also getting more exclusive," Matheson said. In quote, "Team owners have found that you can make a lot more money by selling fewer tickets, but at an extremely premium price than you can make by making gigantic stadiums that you'll have to fill up with $5 or $10 tickets."
So it comes down to business. It comes down to money. Surprise.
Matheson said research has shown stadium owners make a lot more money and have a much easier time selling a handful of expensive tickets rather than a lot of cheaper seats in the nosebleeds. So they think it's economy. Here's the end. What they're banking on is that we basically have 3 tiers of consumers. Upper income folks who can actually go to the games, the super exclusive who can go to the games and those very, very exclusive things, and then everyone else.
Yeah.
But you'll have to serve all those other people by having good media packages that they can watch on TV at home and watch in the bars.
Oh, jeez.
Wow.
So just kicking us right out of the event entirely.
So here we go. I have a question for you boys. Should going to a game be an activity for the wealthy and elite, segregating normal people to bars and homes to watch their game?
Well, no. Right away, no. There should be, right in that question, there's a word that I don't, segregation, obviously not a thing we want, especially in a sport and, a very, what I've known to be an inclusive sport, hockey at times. Of course, there's times in a lot of sports and media that you're going to have, things happen and players do things like obviously the Hockey Canada scandal happening right now, and we've heard other such things happen in the game that are going on, but hockey in general, something we've been moving towards more. I've seen a trend is inclusivity, and seeing something like this is to me totally backwards.
Yeah, this is similar to like at Scotiabank Place, being a Leafs fan. It's like Webster. That's why you saw me at a Leafs game in Ottawa. It's because people like us, we have to find other ways to be able to watch the team. And,
Same, Doug. Same.
Already too expensive. Yeah, now they're going to give you an exclusive experience for $500 more. Yeah, sorry.
Leaving it to just the elite and the super wealthy.
Yeah,
I guess it all comes down to like if there is like Toronto doesn't have a lack of elite and wealthy people, so just like if Colorado can serve the same type of market, like I guess they think they can, but that's where they might if the rich and famous aren't willing to commit to the team, like maybe they're more Nuggets fans, that's where you might come into a problem. But it kind of bugs me. I'm glad that like I can watch the team on TV, but I'd rather go and see them a little more often,
Well, and that's the thing is the atmosphere, right? At an NHL game. That's a huge thing of being at an NHL game is the atmosphere. This whole crazy stadium full of people, the puck hits the post or just misses the net and all the people go, whoa, and you can hear it through the whole crowd. And it's this big thing. And down the line, let's say they've got it really exclusive, just all these very rich and elite people in these exclusive high-end seats. I mean, what's the atmosphere going to be like that? Like at a game like that? I mean, is it going to be worth paying extra money to go sit in a kind of weird, awkward, rich person game? Like,
no, that's a great point.
It also affects the on TV experience, because like you find it a lot watching Leaf games where like it's dead quiet in that place. And it's just like, it's tough for the players. It's weird watching on TV. It feels like the COVID years when there was no one in the arena. So like, I think that you need the arena to be bumping, right? And that's
that's home ice advantage. That's a big part 100%. Of 100%.
Yeah.
I mean, geez.
Yeah.
I think that ruins so many aspects of the game.
That's just out of the Denver news. That's not just Colorado doing that. Lots of teams are doing this, and that's the whole point, is that many teams are doing this. So that being said, you just have to watch for the turn of this and really vote against it. If you are one of these people in Denver, vote against that. You want more people in the barn, right? You want more fans to be able to do these things. We're only growing as a population. I say we let more and more and more in. I prefer the $5 and $10 seats, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
If I lived in Toronto and the seats were $5 or $10, I'd go all the time. All the time. Take my kids.
That's what Rogers has done with the Blue Jays, is they've created these atmosphere spots around the stadium where you can just buy a $20 ticket to get in the door, and you can go and hang out in these places. And the Blue Jays have never been more popular than this year, even though it's, they just got into the playoffs actually.
Well,
but yeah, there's been so much of a vibe around that team, and just because of what they've done to the stadium to make it more inclusive, you know.
Yeah,
That's a good point too. Like,
it's very fair. All right, moving on, boys. Avs preseason. The Colorado Avalanche
yeah,
played their final home game of the preseason against the Dallas Stars. As a matter of
yeah,
fact, they'll start the year on the road and won't return home for game action until the home opener on October 19th against the Chicago Blackhawks.
that's right.
They defeated the Stars at 4-3 in overtime on Sunday in their fourth preseason contest, bringing them to 2-2 on the season. So it's come see, come sa, you know?
Yeah, yep,
Georgiev was in net. Stars were there. You had McKinnon, Rantanen played, Drouin, Lehkonen, along with Devon Toews and Sam Girard. Oscar Olesen was the hero, and he
yeah,
helped Colorado win it 4-3 in overtime with his goal.
that's
So,
right.
how did you feel about that game, Ted?
I liked it, man. I like seeing a few names we've seen on the score sheet throughout preseason. Olofsson and Olason, the two different. There's Olofsson and Olason.
Yeah,
They both
Right,
scored a
yeah.
couple times for the Avs, but yeah, I don't know.
that's
Yeah,
not going to
it's
get
good to
confusing.
see. No, and thankfully, I think one of them they just let go. I think, if I'm not mistaken, or something. But maybe waivers or something. I could be wrong, but either way, yeah. Georgiev in net, McKinnon, Rantanen out there. It's good to see some of the guys. Obviously, we haven't seen like Cale Makar yet, but yeah, no, it was good. Good to see them take Dallas into overtime and get the win.
Yeah, very good, very good. Bednar, he had
Yeah,
a clip to say he enjoyed the way they started, but I guess they got into some trouble, obviously having to head to overtime. So let's hear
yeah,
from Bednar.
Loved our start. Loved the way we played through, the first 30 minutes anyway. Did some good things after that too, but we got a little sloppy with the puck at times, which can be expected, I guess, a little bit in exhibition. But overall, good effort. Yep, I liked it again. Saw a little bit of everything.
that's right. It was a little bit of everything, and I think not to like point fingers, but it was talked about a little too, and I noticed it. Sam Malinsky is a guy who has been doing. I've noticed him out there watching preseason, and he's had some good touches, but he got a little sloppy near the end, and I think that's what Bednar was referencing without saying a name. Was guys like that and other certain plays, but
That was
yeah,
nice of the coach not to single anybody out.
exactly. Bednar's a good guy in the media. He's good at that.
Yeah, the you never want your coach to really single out a single person, as long as they know who's that
Yeah,
he's talking
They
about,
know.
right?
yeah. When he says
Yeah,
that, he's
they
sitting
know.
there going,
Yeah,
They know.
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
So we have a picture here, which our listeners on Amherst Island Radio won't be able to see, but it's going to help us to be able to talk about it. I want to know, Ted, how are you feeling overall about this year's Avalanche squad? So as you pull this up, I got a few notes. The Avs have made a few cuts. They started their camp with 50 players. Now their roster
yep.
sits at 26 forwards, 13 defensemen, 4 goaltenders, and 7 players have been cut, including but not limited to, because I couldn't find all the names, Callahan Burke, Keaton Middleton, Spencer Smallman, Arvid Holm, and Ivan. No, I didn't screw that up. Ivan, undrafted legend of the 2022 World Junior Championships. He played on Sunday, but ultimately didn't make the cut. He was sent down to
That's
the
right.
Avalanche's AHL affiliate, the Colorado Eagles, on Monday. He was the top scorer for the Colorado Avalanche at the rookie face-off tournament, and that strong play carried over into main camp for the Avs. He scored 90 points in 64 games in the QMJHL for the Cape Breton Eagles last year, but take that for what you will, because the Q is known for being the highest scoring of the 3 CHL leagues.
True.
Yeah.
So, of the 43 names remaining on the Avs training camp roster, including several injured players, Francouz, Landeskog, Pavel Wagner, etc., but also listed is former Leafs first-round pick Peter Holland, who's been offered a chance to join the Eagles camp and has decided to continue his professional tryout He will report to the Colorado's AHL affiliate, the Eagles, in their camp. He signed a PTO to play with the Avalanche at the beginning of training camp after retiring from professional hockey in March of 2022. If he decided not to take this opportunity to play in the AHL, he would be released from his professional tryout and basically back to being retired, I guess. So out of all of that, Ted, is there anybody there that you saw that you liked? People who got cut, people who I guess didn't really get to play for the team because they had a baby and now they're going to the AHL. I guess we didn't really see Peter Holland, but any of those guys, did you see Ivan play?
I did, and yeah, fun guy to watch. The guy's so nice. They named him twice, obviously, Ivan. He's great. We got him going down to the Eagles, and I think that's good. I think that's really good for them and him. But yeah, other names. One guy that really stood out for me in Avs preseason was Riley Tufte, former Dallas Star, within their organization. And he was really good. He was in on the score sheet most games that he was in on. When I watched him, he was doing good things in the play, even when he wasn't scoring, good on and off the puck. He was a guy, definitely.
He still hasn't been cut. He's still in there.
Exactly.
So
yeah,
still got a chance.
That's right. This fourth line is kind of shaping up. We've obviously had last season, we had Ben Myers playing a little bit on the fourth line, centering the fourth line and getting in there. But now we've got obviously some competition for that spot, I think. And so we'll see a bit of that as well. And maybe we'll talk about that a bit. Another guy I liked was Henry Boldy. The first time I noticed him, he was kind of getting into it with another player, and I was like, oh man, this guy's maybe going a little too far on what looked like a nothing play. It's preseason, chill out kind of thing. But then later in the game, he was doing stuff. He got in on a goal. He chopped one in front of the net, like a little garbage goal, and he was just in on plays, and he was fun to watch.
That's awesome.
I don't think it's fair for those little grinder players that everyone's like, if you are too rough in preseason, you're supposed to take it easy. But what if that's your game? Like, you're supposed to show off to the coaches, right, and show what you can provide. So I think good on him for displaying what he can provide, right?
That's right. Yeah, he did a good job.
I'm also cheering for Peter Holland. I remember him as a Leaf, and he had a bit of a career in the KHL, and I'm glad to see him back, and hopefully he can find a home here. Either like I could see him maybe being like the 13th forward, or maybe he's a leader on the AHL team. So I'm really cheering for him.
That's awesome.
And what about Fredrik Olofsson? Could Fredrik Olofsson be pulling ahead in the race to be Colorado's fourth line center?
I think he is.
Why don't before you tell me? Why don't we listen to what Bednar said?
Okay. Yeah. Let's hear.
This is from the coach.
I think he's been really good at center. Yeah. I mean, he's been really competitive on the draws. He's a good two-way player. I mean, he's chipping in on the offensive side of it. Responsible guy. Yeah. He looks good in the middle of the ice. I mean, he played in the middle of his ice his whole life until last year.
Yeah. Yeah. He's been there. He's done that. He's still doing it. And he's doing more too. Yeah, he's getting in on the offensive side. I like to see it. And nothing against Ben Myers, obviously. Ben Myers has been a really good name. We've been liking his progress in the Avs camp and all the stuff he's been doing, getting time with the team. But if Olofsson, comes in and shows he wants it more and he's doing more things, then we'll put him there. I mean, that's what I think.
Well, this could be his real shot. He was drafted fourth overall, in the fourth round, 98th overall in 2014, and he only played 2 games in the AHL before going back to Sweden to continue like all of his development until last year when he only played 28 NHL games with the Stars. So if he makes the team, he's getting better. This could be like, late bloomer. They're going to get better every year, and all of a sudden maybe he'll be a 40-point guy, might score 20. Who knows? Like if he was good, he had like 15 goals every year in his years over in Sweden, like no problem. So, I mean, What does that transfer to the NHL? Probably about 10 or 11, but
right.
Yeah.
I mean,
but who knows? Yeah, you get in with the right cast of characters, put him on a good line, some chemistry. I think if he's on that fourth line, he's playing with the likes of like Andrew Cogliano, And what would the other? I was looking at it the other day. I don't know.
I guess Logan O'Connor, I think, might be the guy. That's how
Yeah.
Daily Faceoff has Logan O'Connor
That
filled
makes
in there
sense.
right now. Yeah.
That does make sense. Lock, LOC.
Yeah.
He's got a lock on it for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you have something you said, ask me about Bednar's comments. Did Bednar make some comments that you wanted to comment on?
Just about his comments, just what he said about Olofsson, I think, and just the team. I think there was the thing about Malinsky, obviously. The thing about Olofsson, and that's, again, I think a thing where he didn't single out like Myers, for example.
Yeah.
Because when they're asking him that, they're not just asking, how's Olofsson playing? They're asking, is he going to be potentially getting that spot? And what spot we're talking about is the spot Ben Myers was playing in. So it's not to single out Ben Myers that he's not fighting for the spot, because obviously he's a guy and we like him. But Olofsson's proven it too.
Well, there you go. Josh Manson said during a presser on Monday that he tore his QL, which is your oblique, in game 2 or 3 of the playoffs last season. He tried to play through it, but had to shut it down by game 5. He had an off-season surgery, his first, and has spent time building back to be ready for opening night. Jared Bednar said that Cale Makar is still on target to get in a preseason game, and Josh Manson is probable to get one in as well. So hopefully you see both of those guys, and that's good news for Craig, and we'll tell you why sometime after the break when we come back for fantasy talk.
Yeah.
But yeah, good. Cale Makar's coming back. Josh Manson's coming back. So that's good for the Avs. So they're going to start to round out the team. You know, guys are starting to get cut. Lots of other teams are sending guys down, breaking their teams up, really choosing their teams. It seems like both the Leafs and the Avs are really giving their guys an extended look. They haven't made a lot of cuts. There haven't been a lot of waivers. 2 waivers that we didn't mention for the Avs were Wyatt Amote and Corey Schooneman. Both placed on waivers on Monday. And did you notice either of those guys, or do you think maybe they could be a call-up at some point if they're waiver? Obviously, they're waiver eligible, so they've been doing this for long enough that they're waiver eligible.
Right. I noticed Amat. I noticed him score a goal in one of the preseason games. I think Schooneman was in on some stuff too. He might even have got a goal as well. I noticed them, but nothing like the other guys I mentioned where I really noticed them and started kind of pulling for them. They were just some names.
At this time of year, there's so many guys going through waivers that they're probably a couple guys that'll sneak through and no one will notice. Yeah.
Well, that's right, eh?
Yeah. Well, that Lassie Thompson didn't. He got claimed by Anaheim from the Ottawa Senators.
They don't all get through.
Yeah, they don't all get
make
through.
it.
No.
Yeah.
All right. Well, why don't we take our break now? Because we're going to shift gears right after that. We'll jump into Leafs preseason, and then we'll get in some fantasy, and maybe we'll just keep talking. So we'll see what happens. Why don't we catch you, the listener, back in just a couple of minutes here on 101.3 FM, Amherst Island Radio, CJAI, and CJAI.CA listeners. We'll see you soon. Hear you soon. Talk to you soon.
We'll be back.
We'll be back.
Right, welcome to Split the Defense Hockey Podcast. Webby here alongside my co-host CP and producer Ted. We are broadcasting here today from the Chumley's Kingston Tower of Power on Amherst Island Radio, 101.3 FM, CJAI, and CJAI.CA. We are also still hanging out here live on Twitch and YouTube, where we broadcast Monday and Thursday nights at 9 p.m. So we started off with some Avs facility news and preseason chatter, and that's about as far as we got. So why don't we get into the Leafs now? And we got a whole bunch of Leafs to talk about because they are the center of the hockey universe, after all.
In my world, at least, yes.
Come on, everybody's world. The center of the hockey
That's why I'm here. A little bit
universe,
of
not just my
balance.
universe. So
I mean, yeah.
it is what it is, man. I don't make up the rules. So Leafs had a game Friday night versus Montreal. They had a game Saturday night, Montreal, since we've talked. Then they had a game Monday night against Montreal again. So the first two were in Montreal, and then they played them at home on Monday night. The first game Friday, it was Bertuzzi and his merry band of men, because there was nobody else of note, I guess, if you want to count Reeves and Kampf, maybe. But basically Bertuzzi, he had Holmberg and Gregor on his lines. Nyes played with Minton and Lafferty. Robertson was with Kampf and Reeves. Abruzzese, Shaw, and Ellis made up the fourth line. You had Gio on defense, Lilly on defense, William Lagesson, who I kind of liked, on defense.
Yeah.
Connor Timmins, who we'll talk about, was on defense on Friday. And Sova and Kokkonen. I don't even know Sova's name, so we'll see how he makes out. Pietraniro, that's his name. It's a tough one.
That's his name. Yeah.
He also was the seventh D in that game, because they can just play whoever they want. It's the exhibitions, right? So they had Samsonov and Petruzzelli in the nets, and I didn't watch it. So do you have anything to say about that game? Because I went to the France home opener.
I had a baseball game, but I did catch some of it. It's getting kind of tough at this. Like, I get really excited for the first few preseasons, but then it tends to drag on now, where like I've seen the guys that I want to see, and if they're gonna make it, I have my own little list of guys that I think might make the team if there's the option or the ability to. But now we're kind of getting into it where I want to see some lines being kind of coming together. So Friday, it was a bit of a wash. I didn't care for it that much. It was what it was. But I need to start seeing some things come together here. So,
well, I wrote an article for Inside the Rink this week about Connor Timmins. It came out Friday, I guess, or Saturday morning. And it was about
a great article.
Is the preseason too long? Because we are all sick of the preseason. We all think it's too long, but maybe it's too short, because what about guys like Nick Robertson and Connor Timmins, who we're just not sure if they're going to be able to sustain this type of play? Now, that's a conversation for the Saturday night topic. I'm going to get into what happened at the France home opener. That was a heckload of fun. That was a heckload of fun.
Yeah, let's hear about it.
Now, it's too bad you missed it, Ted. I missed you. I did a lot less working than I was expecting to do, and a heck of a lot more partying. It was a lot of fun. We were cheering and laughing and popcorn and all the good stuff. So I was actually sitting next to and met Linus Hemstrom's grandmother, who was playing on the top right wing. I had a delicious smoked meat sandwich. And my biggest note is that prices for concession are ridiculous, because the smoked meat sandwich and popcorn was like $23.
Welcome to live events. I mean, it's ridiculous anywhere that you go. You almost spend more. Exclusive. Yeah, you almost spend more on whatever it is, pop and popcorn, than you do on the actual ticket these days.
Oh, I definitely spent more in concessions than I did.
Yeah,
especially including the beverages that I had.
You get 2 beer. Yeah, exactly. You're a beer a period, and that's more than your ticket.
Exactly. Yep, I bought one round, and the guests bought one round, and that was enough for us. It's expensive. So we called it at that. But when I got there, the France were losing 1-0 by the time I sat down, and if that was only a few minutes into the game, maybe like 3 minutes, 2.5 minutes into the game, was 17 something on the clock. And they didn't score for the rest of the first period. And they came back in the second period with goals from Tyler Hopkins, who I've been looking for because I've been looking out for this kid, and Jacob Holmes, each scoring a first goal for those guys. Holmes, his first while playing for Kingston, and Hopkins, his first in the OHL. Oshawa, they played the Oshawa Generals, by the way. After the second period, they left 2-2, and it was game time. We saw a fight go into the next period, and like I can't remember, it was like the middle of the next period. It was Cal Ewens went toe to toe with Ethan Toms, and we were just rocking. 3 minutes later, boys, Malik McGowan, who's got to be my favorite prawn, like he's so great. Malik McGowan led a massive hit, just dropped, buddy, that led him to dropping the mitts with Ben Danford. Both of these plays had us right up and down. Like we were freaking out. I don't even things I can't say on the radio. So it was so much fun. So those two fights happened. Crowd's back in it. We're revving now, right? I didn't know that this was Linus's grandmother at the time. We're cheering. We're having a great time, loving the goals. And then in the third period, Nathan Poole left the game briefly. He took a hit from behind. Actually, this was late in the second period with less than 4 minutes to go. And then he came back and he ended up scoring the game winner. So he took a hit from behind, was hurt, comes back in the game. There's 4 minutes left to go, and he puts them up one. So Nathan Poole, that was a champ play. I didn't even realize that he was gone because I'm at the game. You don't have my broadcasters. You'd have to really watch this stuff. And there's just so much happening and so much to watch and cheering and popcorn and, just so much. So I didn't even really notice. Plus the fights, like, holy crap. I was really excited. I had my iPad out. I was typing. I had trying to get all this information down, right? Everything that I was seeing. At the end of the game, none other than Linus Hemstrom pots an empty net for the insurance. So we got to cheer with Linus Hemstrom's grandma about
Happy
that.
grandma.
Yeah. And we totally gave her the information. Hopefully maybe he'll contact the podcast and hit us up. Maybe I'll meet him again and he'll say, yeah, I did get that one night.
Wonderful.
Or maybe it'll be like, no, because my grandma sheltered me. It's like, yeah, no doubt. I probably wouldn't let strange men interview me either. So no worries, kid, if you didn't.
I hope you didn't say anything nasty before you found out.
No, absolutely not. That's not my bit.
Yeah.
That's just not my bit. I want to go and see this team succeed, right? So I was just picking out players I loved. I was falling in love with every player that came out on the ice and made a play, right? I was like, this kid play. So
I get so emotional during watching a hockey game. Like, you never know what's going to come out, So, No. Even like if it's not, even just a guy that makes a bad play, you just like. But
those can turn around and make a bad play, and then it turns around and comes back your way, and you end up with a goal. It's like the story of the Chinese farmer. Have you ever heard of that story?
I have not. No, I want to hear this story.
Okay, so the story of the Chinese farmer, paraphrased, is a Chinese man has a problem, and the neighbors say, "Oh my God, that I can't believe this problem happened." And the problem that he says, "Well, maybe it's a good thing, maybe it's a bad thing." And they say, "Okay, how can you think that? It's terrible and horrible." Then that problem turns into something good. I guess it was first his son opened the gate and let the horse out. And the horse ran away. The neighbors thought, "Oh, that was terrible and horrible. Now you don't have a horse for your farm. Your only horse is gone." Well, his horse brought back 6 other wild horses. So then the boy, he traps all the horses in the pen. And now they have 6 horses, and the neighbors say, now the neighbors say, "Oh, well, that's great." And then the farmer says, "Well, maybe it is, and maybe it isn't." So then the boy, he's trying to break one of the wild horses. He ends up breaking his leg, trying to break one of the wild horses. The neighbors come over and they say, "Oh, this is terrible. What tragedy. Because your son has now broken his leg. He can't help with the farm. This is horrible." And he says, "Well, maybe it is, maybe it isn't." The next day, the Chinese military general comes around looking for guys to transcript into the military, but the son can't go because his leg is broken.
How beneficial.
So then the neighbors come to him and they say, "Oh my gosh, this is amazing. Your son doesn't have to go away to war and fight on the front lines." And he says, the end of the story goes, "Maybe it is, maybe it isn't." You don't know, man. You just don't know, right? So you can't just take one bad play in a hockey game and chalk it up to that's why this happened, right? As much as we want to blame Travis Dermott for that spinorama, it's not just that. There were many other times in the game where things could have happened and things could have changed and bounces and whatever. Maybe yes and maybe no. So...
No, I'm pretty sure that was a bad thing. I'm pretty confident that one didn't really turn around for us, and that was a bad one.
Well, Travis Dermott's gone now. What if Travis
now?
Dermott scored that goal, and then they at least went on to fail anyways? All right,
You know
they fail in the
what's
second
wonderful,
round,
though,
and Travis Dermott's a staple on our blue line right now.
You know what's wonderful though is Travis Dermott got a wonderful chance to play for a wonderful organization called the Vancouver Canucks. So,
Yeah, yeah,
you
good for
know,
him.
Always
so
got to get that in
Good
there.
for him.
yeah, maybe he is saying that a good thing that I did that spinorama.
Yeah, maybe exactly. Yeah, because now I got to go play for the powerhouse Canucks. Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah, soon to
yeah,
be.
big Canucks fan over here. So to finish off
Watch
that
out.
game, we had goal scorers in Savard, Hopkins, Soto, who I really liked, and Hemstrom. Ethan Medema, I think that's how you say his name. He is a big body and he looked good all night. If he can get this together, he is going to be a great, great player. Captain Paul Ludwinski is still in camp with the Blackhawks, so the team is to get even better. They also just got one of the top OHL prospects, like one of the top OHL players ranked this year, and Ethan Weir starting playing games for them.
Yeah.
So the Kingston Frontenacs are only going to get better, and I'm definitely going to start following them and watching games. Hopefully we can get a Memorial Cup here one day.
Oh, that would be exciting.
Absolutely.
That would be awesome.
So jumping into Saturday with the Leafs again, goalie Joseph Woll, he had flu-like symptoms. I feel you, Joey Woll. He did not practice Saturday and was not available for Saturday's game. Nyes, Minton, Gregor, Holmberg, and Robertson were among the Leafs getting the run on back-to-back nights, and this was a night of the children. They came out and they just tried. These kids are like, all right, we are getting a full run, show what we can do. There's no crutches here, and they went out and they won the game. So that was pretty cool. I enjoyed that. I actually fell asleep in the third period because it's preseason, and I actually have been feeling under the weather for the last couple of days. Finally coming back
That's
together,
fair.
but
we're not going to fault you.
But it was still great to see the kids pull one out together on Saturday night. Any thoughts on that game, Craig?
Yeah, it was a fine game. I'm really enjoying seeing Nyes and Robertson. Those are two guys that I like. Nyes, I think, is a total lock to make the team. Robertson, I think, is becoming one, and so when I like to watch him play, he might. It's hard to say. Like, I'm always a guy that's looking at the lineup, like, and before I say that one guy's going to make it. Nyes, there's no question. Robertson, it's all going to come down to Callie Yarncroc, who we haven't seen yet, but who is practicing.
Well, we can get into that. According to Mark Masters of TSN, Yarncroc said he twisted his neck in practice, but now feels good and hopes to play in one of the final two preseason games after tonight's game at home. So whenever he gets back into action, he'll most likely slot back into a line with Max Domi and William Nylander. Is what's said.
You know, the thing is, I don't think Yarncroc is great because he can provide the defensive side, and he's kind of that Swiss Army knife that almost every team really wants, where every team gets injuries, and he is a guy that you can swap around. He can play center if you need him to. He does do better on the wings, but he can fill in for a centerman. It's kind of like how Max Domi is filling in for Willie when he's out of position, you know, so he is a good guy to come around, but I just feel like in the position where he is going to be slotted, a guy like Robertson can fill that, and for way cheaper. And everything about hockey has to do with salary cap, right?
Unfortunately.
So, yeah, it's kind of this beast we all hate, but we have to understand. And so I think you can save some money with Robertson. He as long as he can stay healthy, I think that he should get a chance in a long run. That's the problem, is that he's always either gotten injured or they send him up and down a bit, and he's always ended up getting injured in the end. But
I think that's been his
I think
biggest
he needs
hindrance.
a long. Yeah.
And speaking of injuries, the Leafs had a big hit taken. Timmins absorbed a late hit against Montreal on Friday night, and, quote, Sheldon Keefe says, "We'll be out for a bit." Sheldon Keefe says he's going to miss some time. He's going to be out for a bit after Timmins was absent from on-ice workouts at the Ford Performance Center. Since then, Keefe has updated us that Connor Timmins has a significant lower body injury and is considered week to week. Timmins was battling for a top 6 spot on the Toronto Blue Line, and through 3 preseason games on Friday, led the NHL in scoring with 6 points, 2 goals, and 4 assists. The Leafs acquired him from the Arizona Coyotes last November. In February, they inked him to a 2-year, $2.2 million contract, which makes it clear they expected him to take a step and play on the team this year. And it's a damn shame that he's not going to be on the team this year, because I like Connor Timmins. I like me some Connor Timmins. Every time I've played in Chell and went through franchise mode, I keep that man. I signed him to a low contract, and he plays for years. He's a good, steady Freddy. Keep you on the third line for a long time. But that sucks. That was part of the article that I wrote the other day. So that's really unfortunate. Another injury before we get into talking about the guys who are hurt is the Leafs are supposed to be giving John Klingberg first crack at running the number one power play unit. And though Klingberg's upper body injury is said to be minor, it's now been 5 days off the ice for him. So what's going on with our injured guys? I guess Calle Youngcroft's going down. Timmins is going down. Now we've got, what's the guy? Klingberg, I just said his name, is going down. Everybody's going down, man. We were just talking earlier in the year. Injuries happen. I guess they do, don't they?
Yeah, it didn't take long for us to solve this Timmins issue. We were talking last week, like, what are we gonna do? You know, he has to make the team. And well, he got injured now. So, you know, the Leafs are probably, it's still a decision they're gonna have to make, but they can kind of kick the can down the road, and they can, you know, see, like, just injuries happen. So, you know, maybe someone else goes down and there's a spot. He is in a tight spot with the right side, so like someone does have to get injured, I think. Now that he's not going to be able to showcase anymore for us, I think that it's still a Liljegren's spot. But I do think that, you know, he has the chance. He is a guy that everyone would be totally okay with him getting a shot if, say, Liljegren, Klingberg, or Brody get either traded or injured. So,
well, do you think?
Yeah, as far as John Klingberg goes, like, I want to see more. Like, I think he's a guy that needs to get off on the right foot here coming into the regular season, and so like he needs to get into some more games. You know, start looking good, not have so many defensive lapses, and but it'll be tough if this kind of carries on into the season. But I want to see him at least 2 more times.
Yeah, bad timing for John Klingberg. Bad timing.
Horrible timing, yeah.
That's unfortunate. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we really wanted to see him run that unit and see if he could do it, but Nick Kypreos made a great point tonight. There was an article written, and Morgan Riley said himself, it doesn't bother me because it's only going to be for a little while, but we just want to see if he's any better, if they have more success. It's all about what's best for the team, but I don't know if you guys watched the broadcast. Nick Kypreos was raving tonight about Morgan Riley doesn't like this. He's so sick and tired of everybody taking away his top power play spot, because in the end, what happens? They always go back to Morgan Riley. So just leave the dang guy alone, please and thank you. Like, he does the job. He keeps doing the job, and they're very successful every freaking year. So I know it doesn't translate in the playoffs, but every time they try and put in a Tyson Berry or a Rasmus Sandin or whoever, Jake Muzzin that they've had in the power play, or whoever else that they've slotted in there at different times, Marcus Giordano's had run at the top power play. Like, it just they never keep that guy. It always rolls back to who, Craig? Who does it roll back to?
So
Morgan Riley.
Morgan Riley. Okay, I'll answer it for you. My favorite version of Morgan Riley was when Mike Babcock was the coach. And you know why? And the reason is because he tasked him with being a shutdown defenseman. You know, but as many flaws as Babcock has, he is a guy that believes his top performing offensive defenseman should also play defense. And that's the year when I saw that, you know, he could really make a nice turn when he wasn't always thinking about pinching. He could make a nice turn and go back. He played pretty decent defense, and I want to see him do that more. I think, especially looking at the defensive depth that the Leafs have, there's way more offense than there is defense. And I think that he's a guy that will, if you do take away that power play role from him, that he will learn, and he takes that on as being a shutdown guy. He thinks defense a little bit more. I think that's the best version of Morgan Riley, at least for the team. And we saw that in playoffs, that like when he digs deep, he can play good defense. And so like I want to see that. And John Klingberg can. Yeah, John Klingberg, though, he has just as much of a nice touch passing wise, and he has a friggin' nice slap shot. And that's something that Morgan Riley doesn't have. And I think that changes the entire group. You might be talking about the Leafs power play more like the Edmonton Oilers, because that's something that the Oilers have, is a great power play shot from the point. And I think
Justin Bourne brought up the fact that John Klingberg has he was like a top 10 in shot assists, and Morgan Riley was like 54th or something like that. It was like way out of 65 eligible players. Like he was something crazy high. But yeah, John Klingberg's top 10. So he can be that guy on the power play who does feed the pass and they fire it in, especially for a guy like Matthews, because he's kind of Ovechkin-esque.
Oh, big time. Yeah. Especially, I think that last year Matthews had a bit of a wrist injury, so they leaned away from him a bit. So I think that this year you'll see way more one-timers from that side spot. And the one thing, too, if we go back to the Klingberg shot, is that when John Tavares played on the island, that's what he did. He was the JVR that we miss, is that he used to stand in front and just tip pucks. He's one of the best net front players. Same with Willie. I think he's underrated at net front presence. And so, like, I think that the more shots that you get in there, the Leafs have the players to do something with it. So, the more that we think about it, I think that's the only thing that John Klingberg's really going to bring to this team is offense. And so, let's take advantage and kind of use Riley in other ways.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. If you're just going to have John Klingberg, you might as well just use him for that role and get Riley to step up and do another. You're right, if you're going to have him, but I think maybe you shouldn't have him.
Well, fair. They're paying way too much for what he provided, especially once you saw like the I think it was Dumba. I forget what his contract is, but I think that guy's like a way better player. What if he didn't want to play here?
And he signed in the desert, man. Maybe he wants to show up and work in flip-flops.
You don't think that he would play for the Leafs over the Dirt Dogs? Like when he got into a situation where everyone ran out of cap space. He thought he was worth a little bit more, and everyone ran out. If the Leafs didn't sign him, they could have signed him for I would have just given him the same contract that Klingberg had, but probably less. So I think they kind of, based on timing, they kind of had the wrong timing there.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was one of those who cost too much on free agent day. They signed John Klingberg, then his price went down because nobody else would take him, and then unfortunately we couldn't get him anymore. But I mean, that makes sense. So the Leafs had some reassigned forwards. We'll flash these pictures really quick as I hit the names. The forwards that they sent down to the AHL without waivers are Nick Abruzzese, Joseph Blandisi. I'm going to do my best here, boys. I don't know if I know all these first names. Max Ellis. Roni Hervonen, Braden Kressler, something Master Simone, Dmitry Ovchinnikov, something O'Brien,
nice,
something N. Shea, Logan Shaw, who's the captain, Singleton, is it Ty Singleton? I'm not sure. Josiah Slavin, Alex Steves, Kay Southers, not sure who that is. Ryan Tverberg, Ty Voigt, and T. Weiss. I'm not sure who that is either. The Leafs D-men that they've reassigned down to the AHL is Noah Dillingham, I think it's Matt Hellickson, Tony Niemela, I think is it Mark or Matt Pietroniro? Pietroniro, I struggle with that one every time. Marshall Rafai. This guy is something Tychonik, J. Tychonik, and William Villeneuve. Luke Kavalin, Dennis Hildeby, and Vladislav Peksa are the goalies that went to the AHL. So both Leaf legends Victor Mete and Adam Brooks were placed on waivers by Philly today. It's too bad the Leafs are out of contract spots, but you know where they could end up, right? Pittsburgh.
Where? Oh, God, you're right. You are right.
Calling it right here on Split the Defense Hockey Podcast.
Yep, good call. That's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
just another reuniting in Pittsburgh.
Kyle Dubas, he
I think we all know
loves
why.
his
Kyle
guys, man.
Dubas.
He
Yeah.
loves
He
his
loves
guys.
his guys.
So,
Yes. Yeah. The only name on that really jumped out at me is I saw a quote on The Athletic about Alex Steves and how he really like felt he could fill that spot on the fourth line and could bring some scoring, but also like the dog in the fight. And I really loved his quote. I wish I had it right here, but that's a guy that I thought that and again, there's just no spot for him. But it's unfortunate. There's a spot for that guy in the NHL. It's just at the moment not in the Leafs team right now. But like that's an NHL player, so there's a lot of guys on the Leafs I think that can fill in as a bottom six player, and he's one of them. 100%.
Absolutely. A couple other guys looked really good, and Keith had something to say about Matt Nyes and Fraser Minton.
Yeah.
Just, they're two guys. They're both hard on the puck. They've got good size and good length. Both skilled guys, they're both young guys, so they get along well, and they're both kind of in it for the same reasons in terms of trying to impress and adjust to the league and all those kind of things. Quite honestly, I think both those guys would do well no matter where I had them or who I had them with, the way that they're playing and the types of players that they're showing that they are. So we've got some good ones there.
Yeah, very good ones in my opinion. Nyes looks like a lock, but which of Minton, Gregor, Holmberg, or Robertson do you think has the best chance to make the team? Or do you think none of those guys make the team?
I don't think any of them actually make the team. And Gregor would be the only one, but I think that Gregor makes the AHL team. Like they give that guy a contract. But I think that if Bobby McMahon's going to be healthy, I think that spot's taken. If Yarncroc comes back, there's just not enough spots. I think that Robertson's the one that should make the team. It's so unfortunate that Fraser Minton's going to go back to, is it the WHL where he belongs? He's going to go back to junior. And that's where this junior rule sucks. It stinks because he should be playing in the AHL, and I would totally trust him as a call up on basically any position other than first or second line center. But he's a smart kid. He knows hockey. He's a lock for the replacement for David Kampf, no matter what. I think though that he has the potential to be a third line center. I really like Fraser Minton, so it's not his. This isn't his year, but he's probably, other than Nyes is definitely the best on the list, but Minton's the one that I'm most excited for.
Those two have great
Robertson,
chemistry.
I think. Yes. Yeah. You
The
are
two of them
right.
played
Yeah.
really well together.
That line is
the
a little, it's a little young for my liking, but
A couple of years.
yeah, I think they're just both so smart. I think they both understand hockey. Fraser Minton always knows where to be, and actually, so does Matthew Nyes. I trust him on any shift in the defensive zone. He has a great stick. Seems to, as for a winger, he's always in the right spot. There's a little bit of I'm not sure how old Gregor is, but that's some young talent there. I like them all. Yeah,
right on. So tonight's game, or yesterday's game for you Amherst Island listeners, we are talking about Domi because he scored a goal and he had a quote before the game that says his first game with the Leafs at Scotiabank will be pretty surreal, in quotes. Said he's been getting lots of support from close friend Matt Sundin, and that Matt has been his, quote, number one cheerleader. So that's pretty cool. Gotta love that. Ties to the team. Gotta love the kid. We all loved his dad. Like, if you didn't love his dad, who the heck are you? You're not a Leafs fan that I know. Everybody loved Ty Domi. Nice to have Max on the team, especially scoring goals like he did tonight. That's not all, though. We had lots of talent on the lines tonight. We had Bertuzzi, Domi. We had Marner and Matthews and Nylander. Nyes was there. Robertson's there. Tavares is there. Reeves is there. Lafferty, Kampf, and Gregor. There was all forwards who could or should make this team when it comes time. So it was a bunch of guys. And on the defense, you had Benoit, Brody, Kokkonen, Liljegren, McCabe, and Riley. So Kokkonen is getting an extended look. He's gotten quite a few games. I've always liked him, but he was quite young. Like, did you ever notice Kokkonen in camps before and think like, hey, that guy's actually pretty good?
Yeah, he was kind of like I've talked to you about the William Villeneuve one. You know, like they're guys that like I think that like definitely Kokkonen's ahead of Villeneuve, but guys I've taken notice of and that could potentially make the team in the future.
I think it's more of like it's just their type of game that they play. If they can reach that level, they're impact type players. You can see it when these guys when they're going to make it to the show, they're going to be impact type players. They're not just going to be flyby guys wasting time passing the puck, moving it around cleanly. They are guys who make an impact when they're on the ice. So
yeah. It's similar to, I know that, like, to throw it to Ted here about the Avs with Bo and Byram, you know, like, there's kind of this step from, like, in each tier, you know, like, Bo and Byram's a guy that I think is in, like, tier 2, and he could potentially reach tier 1, where a couple of guys we're talking about are kind of in tier 4, and they could make maybe a jump to tier 3. You know, like, it's funny that guys can kind of plateau where you kind of see that they're starting to look good, but they just need to make that jump. So hopefully we can, hopefully that we can, they make that jump. Yeah.
For sure. Producer Ted, do we have to?
I mean, for the radio,
All right.
like to.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
We didn't get through our whole episode again. So one of these times, maybe Thursday, we'll just have an extra long episode and make sure we get everything so we have all fresh information for a final show. But that's our time here. That's all we have. So thanks, everybody, listening live on Twitch and YouTube. And from all our listeners in the greater Kingston areas, we're broadcasting here today from the Chumley's Kingston Tower of Power on Amherst Island Radio, 101.3 FM, CJAI, and CJAI.CA. I'm Webby, alongside my co-host CP and producer Ted, and we will see you all next week.
See ya.
See ya.
You've been listening to
Split the Defense.
where Jordan Webster, Ted Evans, and Craig Pearce talk about the NHL and all things hockey.
Split the Defense.
Can be found wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. It's also broadcasted on Amherst Island Radio, 101.3 FM, and online at CJAI.CA.